just some advice. Um, those of you that don't know me, I see some familiar faces that are in here. I'm Sammy Gilla. I'm the academic relations manager for Aspen. So I cover District 4. Those of you familiar with ASDA, I cover 7 dental schools. I'm happy to cover VCU and because it's a great school, and the fact that Dr. Katie is an alum from there and she's such a huge role model just in Aspen in general. So I'm happy that you guys have the opportunity to pick her brain a little bit and learn from her. But we're just going to go right into it. Dr. Katie, thanks again for, coming on for an hour. Here, I'll stop sharing my screen so that way you guys can see us. Hello, guys. So Dr. Katie, if you could just give us, a brief background about yourself, kind of let the students know where you are right now and, what your journey's looked like so far.
Yeah, I graduated in 2012 from VCU. I did a GPR at the VA hospital in Gainesville, Florida, in conjunction with the University of Florida. And then joined Aspen in 2013, stayed in Florida for about 6 years, and then moved to North Carolina. I'm from North Carolina. And so moved back home, opened the first Aspen office in North Carolina, and now I have 5 locations, and here I am.
Yep. And you are also a mother, so you have a lot on your plate. So one of the first questions that have come in is, what would you say was the most challenging as an associate dentist, also as a practice owner?
As an associate, it's really finding your confidence and finding your style. Also kind of balancing between multiple chairs in dental school. And when I was at the VA, we had 1 chair, a certain number of patients we could see a day, and that was really it. So with Aspen in particular, you bounce between chairs or running a couple different operatories. So learning how to multitask is a little bit of a challenge coming out as a new grad. But also really finding your voice and your confidence and your style that comes with time too. Being a petite female doctor, being able to be assertive and have patients trust what I'm saying and be confident in myself, and then have confidence in my treatment plan. That takes a little bit of time. Finding the right words, putting together the right words when you're explaining a treatment plan as a new doctor is a little bit of a challenge too, but you'll get there with practice. And then as a practice owner, the dentistry is the easy part as a practice owner. I think it's really managing the people, making sure you have the right teams that are put together. It's like a big puzzle. You need the right personalities to fit with the right doctor, the right office manager, the right dental assistant. So putting the right people in the right position at the right time is probably the biggest challenge.
Yeah. So that's something that a lot of students are concerned about, is like whether they go into a residency, what can help them become better straight out of dental school, making that transition easier for themselves. So another question here is asking, well, would you say a residency is necessary to do well with Aspen? Obviously you did one, and you work with, I'm sure, associates who may have not, and talk to others who may have not. So what would you say a residency is?
I wouldn't trade my residency for anything. I loved it. It was invaluable. But the benefit of Aspen, you have so many mentors and so many role models and doctors that you can call on. You're training with a doctor for 6 weeks, and as an associate, you're going to be with an MCD or a lead doctor. So even if you didn't do a residency, you have people that you can lean on for growth and mentorship and assistance. And so the doctors that I get, they get to benefit from my residency because I'm teaching them what I learned as a resident, going through, how important the medicine background is for my residency, and how I teach that to them, how I was taught how to approach a surgery. I pass that down to my associates. So you benefit a lot from the skills that I learned in my residency. And I think that's true for a lot of the associate doctors that come in. The mentor doctor and the MCD that they're partnered with, you learn and you benefit from their education. So I don't think it's necessary. I mean, it's really what you want to do in your comfort level. But coming into Aspen, you have so much support that you're not by yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is the mentorship. And when I talk to these students, and I see a lot of familiar faces, familiar faces. I wish I was seeing familiar faces. A lot of familiar names, but I see like some people that are going to be joining us, which is awesome. But yeah, the mentorship piece is huge. You know, guiding your way through, you know, your first, for some people, their first job ever. So. All right, we'll roll right along. The next question here, this is a good one. I'm curious to see how you answer this. Did becoming a practice owner reach your expectations?
I had no idea what to expect. When I joined Aspen, I had zero intention of being a practice owner, and I so I really didn't know what to expect, especially first coming in. Fortunately, I was a partner before I was an owner, and so before I left Florida, I was a partner in the office where I was the MCD, and that prepared me a lot for ownership. So I knew a lot of what to expect. I knew how to read a P&L. I knew, which is a profit and loss statement. I kind of knew how to control my costs. I knew how to manage my people internally, not with multiple offices, but just within my one. So being a partner definitely prepared me more on a small scale for ownership. And I would say it has met my expectations. I have the support that I need. I don't do payroll. If there's a leak in the office, I don't have to deal with it. So Aspen handles all of that for me. I can go home, be with my kids, and if I have a few notes to finish up, that's really all I need to do outside of the office. And if that's all you want to do, great. If you want to be more involved, you have the ability to be more involved. But I'd say ownership has met my expectations.
Awesome. So, just talking about that specifically. So, what does the growth track look like for some of the students that are in here that might not understand associate or MCD or partner or owner? Do you want to explain a little bit what that journey looks like?
Sure. So as a new grad, you come in usually as an associate. So as an associate, there's an MCD or a managing clinical director who is either a more experienced doctor, a little older. They may have done a residency, but they're the one kind of running a majority of the office. They will see more of the patients. As an associate, we start you off a little bit slower, so you can manage through the multiple chairs. So you have a column of production, and then you'll see a couple new patients here and there. You'll see a couple what we call overflow patients, which is a denture adjustment, a wax try-in, something like that. So you learn how to manage a smaller schedule before kind of graduating into becoming a managing clinical director. Not only does the managing clinical director see a few more patients, manage a couple more chairs, but they also are more in charge of the assistants and the back staff, and helping guide the assistants and making sure that the back is running well. After the MCD, you can have the ability to partner if the office is already owned. You can partner in. The partnership is a great opportunity. It's very easy. You do take a smaller percentage, but you get some extra profit, which is wonderful. And you have a little bit of extra responsibility. Again, you're mindful of the business as a partner. You're now a business owner, so you're mindful of the business. But again, you still have your majority partner to lean on if there are things that you need. And then you don't have to do partnership in order to be in a full owner. That was just my particular path. So you can go from MCD to owner. If the location you want needs an owner, if the office that you're in needs an owner, you don't have to start with partnership. But again, there's so many resources that even if you don't do partnership, going into full ownership, you have a lot of people like myself who are available to answer questions, help guide you through how to deal with staff turnover, how to deal with all these things that come along with being a business owner that you don't really deal with as a doctor who comes in just as the patients and then goes home.
Yeah. And especially from like being a student, you don't really learn a lot of the business aspect of a practice, of running a practice. So, you know, being a private practice owner, you kind of learn by error. But there's a lot of things that like you said, like you don't have to be as involved as you want, or if you want to let, Aspen Dental Management handle a lot of those things, you can. It's entirely up to you. So the next question here is asking, how long did it take for you to open your first office, and how long for the second office?
From when I started Aspen, I was with Aspen for about 7 years before I opened my first office. So my office in Florida was already a pretty mature, well-established office when I partnered in. And then I moved home to North Carolina. North Carolina was a brand new market. So I opened the first office in North Carolina in 2019. That office opened in February. I opened my second office in April. I opened the third office in September, the fourth in October of 2019 and 2020. And then the fifth one came this past October. And then the next two will come in June and July. So they've been rapid fire because, again, North Carolina is a very new market. That isn't, if you take a more mature market like Florida, those offices and those owners don't have the rapid fire growth because, again, that market's much more mature.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of like dental health, it's definitely underserved here in North Carolina. But that's crazy, right? Like just thinking about that, like, did you think in 2018, in 2019 and 20, you were gonna get 5 offices and then 2 more? Like, I'm overwhelmed just hearing that.
Yeah, I did not imagine that they would come that quickly. Again, coming from Florida, I really thought it'd be a little bit slower of a progression. That's what I was used to with the offices opening in my area. But it's been a great roller coaster. It's been fun though.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I do want to just give like a really quick brief background just about Aspen Dental and then Aspen Dental Management Incorporated, or ADMI. So I work for ADMI. So that is the actual dental support organization that supports all of the doctor-owned Aspen Dental practices across the country. As of now, there's over 860 plus, and I believe this year they're wanting to build another 80 plus, which is insane to me. But again, that just goes to show how underserved the US is when it comes to dental health. But, that means a lot of opportunity for clinicians, right? So I work again for ADMI, supporting all the practice owners. Dr. Katie, for example, I help her, find good candidates from dental schools, whether it's VCU, Chapel Hill, the schools that I cover. And also, like, my main goal is, being a career guide to all of you guys, answering all the questions that you have, understanding what your individual goals are, and letting you know, what is the best thing for you to do, and then also introducing you to awesome people like Dr. Katie, who can really, tell you what you can expect, tell you what they went through. But I just wanted to share that quickly. So Dr. Katie works for herself, they're her offices, she owns them. We are the organization that supports, again, all of those offices. All right, so we'll go right back into the questions. Another one here is asking, do you think most places or areas will be too saturated to get into ownership?
No, there's opportunity. It just depends on, some markets are saturated. So Florida, again, for example, is a more mature market. They're still opening new offices. So you just may have to be, say you're bound and determined to be in Florida, you just may not be right in the heart of Tampa. You may be in a different spot. But there's opportunity. The more mobile you are, the more open you are to different locations, the more opportunity you're going to have. But there's still new markets that are opening up. And like I said, even more mature markets, they're still having new offices. And some of these older practice owners who have been with Aspen for quite a while, I know there's a couple up in like Pennsylvania who the owners have amassed a great number of offices. And so now they're wanting to sell them completely to their partners. So that's always something that's happening as well.
Yeah, awesome. Um, okay, so somebody's asking here about compensation. I believe Aspen has a profit share model. We do for compensation in addition to a daily guarantee for an associate. Did you like this style as an associate?
I thought it was great. I felt like it was very secure for me coming in as a new grad and as an associate. I had bills to pay, I have loans, I've got to make some money. And so it was very comforting knowing that, a pandemic, a plague of locusts, that if I showed up in the office, I clocked in, even if I saw one patient, I'm getting paid the same amount. Um, and that was very comforting for me. But also I knew that because of the profit sharing model, the harder I worked, the more profit I was going to bring home. And it's a team mentality. It's not just what I can do with my two hands. It's what my oral surgeon can do, my endodontist, me, myself, if I was an associate, my MCD. So we're trying to spread across the patients and their treatment and make sure that everybody is full and productive, because at the end of the day, the more profitable the office is, the more profitable I am as the individual. But
Yeah.
again, it was very comforting knowing that, like, if something happened, I'm still going to get paid and I can pay my bills.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's something I've never heard of, and I think it's super cool. And you touched on it about the team mentality, like having a team effort. It's not really focused on you're getting paid off of what you're solely producing in the chair that you have. It's a team effort, right? You and the other dentist are working together just to make sure like patients are being seen at the end of the day. And then,
And
go ahead.
and so with that team mentality, it allows the associate to learn more and do more. Their dirty secret of private practice is the owner doctor, the one that's been there the longest, they do hoard cases. They don't want to share the cases that are profitable with the associate because they know that's going to make them money. So a lot of associates end up doing single unit crown and bridge, lots of fillings. But if my schedule's full and there's a full mouth extraction or there's a big crown and bridge case that I can't fit on my schedule and my schedule's full for the rest of the month and we want to get this in, then great, it's going on the associate schedule and I'm going to walk them through how to do it. So it really allows the associate to be exposed to a lot of variety of cases and even pretty large cases at a young point in your career.
Yeah. Awesome. So just piggybacking off of that, if there are procedures that you do not like to do in Aspen offices still, do you have to do it, or is there any way to schedule procedures that you like more or feel more comfortable doing?
Sure. I don't like endo. I really don't. I don't like it. My referring endodontist love me. I get great Christmas gifts because I just don't like to do it. So there's nobody telling me I have to do X amount of root canals, and my strength is surgery. So I tend to fill my schedule more with surgery. And so you work together with the other doctor that's in the office. And if you two have the same interests and you both like surgery, great, then you're just going to split the cases and you're both going to get a great amount of surgical experience. But, if you're not comfortable in surgery and the other doctor is, then great, put them on their schedule. If you lean more towards crown and bridge and the restorative, then great, fill your schedule with all the restorative. So you can have a partnership with that doctor in the office that you're working with. We want you to be well-rounded. Push comes to shove, if I have to do a root canal, I'm going to do it, and I will. I might not enjoy it, but there's nobody telling me that I have to do a certain amount of procedures. And if I'm not comfortable doing a certain procedure, I can always refer to another doctor within my PC or my network. So if I have a doctor that enjoys doing root canals, great, I'll send them over to another office that's 25 minutes away. I have patients that need implants that can't afford to be with my oral surgeon, so they'll come and I'll put the implants in, but they'll have to come to one of the offices that I'm in. So, if you're not comfortable, you can most certainly refer. We don't want to put you in a position where you are putting yourself or a patient at risk because you're in over your head.
Yeah, absolutely. So those of you that aren't familiar, we do have Aspen specialists that do come into the office. Not all offices have them, some do. And this just allows it, a much easier process for the patient. They don't have to find or they don't have to go to a new office, get familiar with the new staff. You know, they're in the same office, this oral surgeon comes in, and it depends. Like I said, every practice is different. Some come in twice a month, 3 times a month. It just depends what the schedule looks like. So there's still a little bit of confusion, it looks like, with the profit share model. I'll explain it really quickly and I'll try and make it as simple as possible. Dr. Katie, if I, correct me if I'm wrong. So there's a daily guaranteed rate, and this is pretty much like your salary. So you'll get a daily guaranteed, let's say $600 a day. Every day you come into work, you get $600 a day. There's like 20 odd days in a month that are work days. So let's say you make $10,000 every month just from your daily guaranteed. Again, this is hypothetical. And then let's say the profit of the practice, and the profit of the practice includes what you're doing as a dentist, what if there is another doctor, another dentist is doing in the practice, what hygiene is doing, as well as specialty. And then at the end of the month, you take the $10,000 that you got from your daily guaranteed, and you also take the profit at the end of the month. So let's say the profit was $12,000. Then you take the difference, and that'll be your bonus. So you have your 10 grand, and then you have 12,000. The difference is 2, and then you get an additional bonus at the end of the month. Let's say the profits are below what you made in terms of your daily guaranteed. Nothing happens. You don't get money taken out of your check. None of that happens. And the daily guaranteed is paid bi-weekly. And the profit share is just additional on top of that. And associates typically make 8 to 10%. However, the practice owner is the one who determines that. So that's you ask your practice owner that when you're interviewing. Dr. Katie, is there anything else that you would add on to that, or?
That's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah. So I try and make it, again, as simple as possible, but that's typically how the compensation plan works. The only other thing I would add is just the net patient satisfaction scores determines whether you're making 8 to 10%. So there's a sliding scale, and depending on how happy your patients are in terms of their experience at the office, that determines, whether you're at 8 or 10%. And that's between, like, I think it's a 1 to 5 scale, if I'm right.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll stop talking now. I'll let Dr. Katie actually talk. So that minimum guarantee money is, okay. So somebody's asking, how long is the daily guaranteed for?
Forever.
So
forever. I still have a daily guarantee. So I give myself a daily guarantee. So I go in, I clock into an office, I get, $600 every time I walk in the door and punch in, and I show up to work. So yes, that daily guarantee lasts forever. It doesn't go away.
Yep. So I think somebody's asking that because I have heard students telling me, talking to other practices or DSOs, that they have a daily guarantee. It'll be like $1,000 or $1,200 daily guarantee for 3 months. And then you go to production. Your daily guaranteed is forever. As long as you're with Aspen, working for an Aspen practice, you'll always have that daily guaranteed. But again, every practice owner has the ability to make their compensation model however they like. I'm going to say like 90%, majority take the model that I described earlier. Somebody is asking, how much time do you spend managing that many offices versus seeing patients?
I see patients all day, every day.
Okay, cool. Do the offices offer Invisalign or another ortho treatment performed by general dentists?
Yes, we offer Invisalign. And there are iTeros or intraoral scanners in all of the new offices are coming with them. Some of the older offices, and I can't speak for everyone. All of my offices have an intraoral scanner, and that is the standard and the model that Aspen is going towards. I'm sure there are a few owners out there that don't want to do Invisalign or do have intraoral scanners, but for the most part, yes, Aspen as a whole, Invisalign and intraoral scanners.
Yep.
The iTero.
Yep. Starting now, or I believe a few months ago, every practice that's being built is coming with the CBCT as well as an iTero scanner that's standard in every office. Awesome. Great question. So another thing I just want to touch on, somebody's asking about CE. For procedures that you were not comfortable with, or the CE course is beneficial to teach you new skills to be more prepared? And I guess you could throw Invisalign into there in terms of answering that.
Yeah, so Aspen holds Invisalign training and also implant training, so implant restorative training, and then also surgical training. Aspen offers a hands-on surgical course for implant training. Once you have mastered kind of basic surgical skills, you can reflect flaps, suture well. You've done some surgeries in the office. You've gone through the restorative for single units, for crowns, and then for an implant supported denture. You've been through all of that training. Then you can move on to the surgical training.
Yep. And we typically send our general dentist to a practice support center, which is in Chicago. But obviously during COVID, most of these are being done in your home office that you're currently working at, and it's virtual. But the practice support center is pretty sweet. They're remodeling it. And I don't know if you know more than I do, Dr. Katie, if you want to share.
And I don't know a whole lot. They're keeping it pretty secret. So,
Okay.
But with the CE, you know, there's tons of CE. There's tons of online library of CE that is, you could fulfill your license renewal requirements like 10 times over. For anything that you want, there's that online library. The Invisalign and the implant CEs are really the big ones that Aspen offers for like large procedure things. But then again, you also lean on your mentor doctor. Again, there's Dr. Waral and Dr. Galante, who are ortho and implants. And so even just beyond like what you're physically doing, if you have questions on, hey, I have this random implant that came in, let me call Dr. Waral and see how do I restore it. So there's a lot of different avenues to get a lot of different education, not just, credited CE. You have educational support, and you don't have to stick within the Aspen CE stuff. You can take whatever CE course you want. I took a whole bunch before Aspen offered implant CE. I went to Dominican Republic and took an implant course and put in implants when I was down in the Dominican Republic. I took a third molar course. I took an advanced surgical course all down in the DR. So whatever you want, you can find.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you're on that topic about going to the DR for those cases, was this through, like, what was this through?
No, it was through implant seminar. So it was a continuing education course.
Okay, cool. So just like on that topic, I know a lot of students ask about charity and giving back. It's important to a lot of people. And Aspen does offer a lot of, opportunities in terms of giving back. Dr. Katie, have you done anything yourself, or is there anything you could explain just about that a little bit more?
Yeah, every year Aspen holds a day of service where we do free treatment for veterans within the community. They go online, they sign up, and they come in, and we try to address a chief complaint, whether they need some scaling done, the hygienist is there, they need a tooth out, and depending on how quickly we can get things moving, we can even do some extractions and same-day dentures. So we try to get as much done for the veterans as possible. But beyond that, you have the autonomy within your office, within reason, to say, hey, this patient is in excruciating pain. They can't afford to take the tooth out today. Let me just do my good deed for the day. I'm going to go ahead and take it out, and we'll write it off. So you have the ability to discuss that with your MCD and your owner and your office manager and say, hey, I want to take this tooth out for the patient. And you can do those kinds of things too.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of practice owners do that as well, obviously within reason. But I have a pretty cool video here. It's short, 2 minutes, that I just want to share with you guys. That kind of just makes it more clear in terms of what the day of service really looks like. So I'm going to share my screen here. Dr. Katie, can you see my screen?
I sure can.
Okay. All right. There you go.
Today is a very special day for veterans.
Today, Aspen Dental is doing what they can to help bring care to veterans who need it.
Aspen Dental opened nearly 500 of its offices this weekend. Today, Aspen Dental's offices are offering
Free care. It's all part of the company's Day of Service event.
This year, the organization expects to help 5,000 U.S. veterans.
Free resources for close to 5,000 of the country's veterans during the all-day event.
We do know a lot of veterans, unfortunately, do not have access to dental care, and we're able to do what we can in our small way to provide care. And we're just grateful that we have the opportunity to do so.
It's just the least we can do to give back to just a little bit of what they have given to serve our country.
Since 2014, Aspen Dental has helped more than 22,000
veterans.
Free care to more than 20,000 veterans in the last 5 years.
An opportunity like this is extremely kind of them.
For Aspen Dental to provide this opportunity to veterans, it's such an excellent program.
Over the past years, we've given away millions of dollars.
Since 2014, Aspen Dental has donated more than $15 million.
More than $15 million.
More than $15 million in dentistry to over 22,000 veterans and people in need through their efforts.
We decided that we need to get the word out there. We want people to see the dentist. We want people to take care of themselves. And then we realized that veterans were also not seeing the dentist as much as
All right, so I just really wanted to share that with you guys, just so you have an idea of what that looks like and how much effort goes into it. You guys probably saw the Mouthmobile, that little RV. So that's something that travels throughout the states in like rural cities, and will just stop and provide care for 2 to 3 days or so. I had the opportunity to go to one when it came to Augusta. So the Dental College of Georgia actually got to come out and see it, which is cool. But it's just really a really cool way that that they can give back. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. But we'll go back into the questions. You guys have them all come in, which is great. As an owner of 5 practices, what do your days and weeks look like? Are you stepped back and mostly in a managerial role or group model? How do you rotate throughout the offices? Are the associates seeing majority of the patients?
So I see a lot of patients. I worked today. I worked all week. So I have associates in every office and MCDs, and I will rotate through. So I ideally will rotate through and spend a couple days in each office, and they can fill my schedule. I will run through treatment plans and kind of observe. But we have had, if I need to cover an office, I can. And because I still have 5, I'm able to spend like 3 or 4 days, a majority in one office with one of my younger associates, mentoring him. And then he's strong enough to hold down the fort like 1 or 2 days a week. And then I can kind of hop around and support my other offices.
Great. So I think everybody's kind of asking about what your work-life balance looks like.
Yeah.
So somebody's saying, I'm interested in becoming a practice owner in the future. How do you manage work-life balance?
That's the beauty of Aspen. That is truly the beauty of having the support of ADMI, is I don't have to go home and run payroll, search through, Indeed to look for another dental assistant or staff in office. Aspen finds those people for me. They find their favorite ones, and then I will interview them, and I'll take calls while I'm driving home, while I'm driving to and from an office, or a lot of times I'll start my day at 9 o'clock and I'll end it at 3 o'clock. That way I have time to, in the morning, take calls or check in on my doctors first thing before they get started in the office, or do some more managerial things in the afternoon. So my days seeing patients has shortened a little bit, but I truly love seeing patients. That's what I love to do. And so I make sure that I still have that incorporated into my day. And even though it's a little bit shorter, my day is still full because I'm having to do conference calls and things like that to manage the rest of the offices. But, I still get to go home at 6 o'clock, turn it off, and be with my kids, have dinner. And on the weekends too, I still have all the weekends with my family. I can take time off. I've got, again, being with Aspen and having a network of doctors wherever you are, if you as an associate want to take vacation, you have your MCD to cover, and that the office isn't going to burn down. And once you graduate to an MCD, you'll have an associate or another doctor that's close by that can come and cover the office. But there is great ability to have a work-life balance.
Yeah, that's awesome. And especially, being a mother, like I talked to Dr. Roma Patel down in Georgia, and she was on maternity leave, and she's a partner or, also an owner in a practice. So she has that ability to know that her practice is being covered while she's focusing on being a mom.
Yep.
All right, awesome. So the next question here is, how many patients do you see per day, and how many do your associates see per day?
It varies. Let me pull up my schedule for today.
All right.
So today I saw about 30 patients today. And I'm in an office by myself. I have a more hefty schedule than the average person. I'd say the average schedule for an MCD by yourself, 25 patients a day ish. The associate, let's see. I'd say about 15.
Okay, great. So on that topic, how many chairs per doctor? Wait, okay. The grammar here is kind of tough. How many chairs per doctor there are usually in an office? How many patients? Okay, you already answered that part.
So there are 7 operatories in my offices, and I have 3-ish columns of patients. So I have a new patient column. So if I'm my associate, if I'm by myself, I have 3 columns of patients. If my associate is there, we have a 4th column. So there's production for myself and my associate, a new patient column, and then an overflow column. That overflow column is for impressions, denture steps, limited exams, denture adjustments. So you are responsible for your column, for your production. The managing clinical director will see a majority of the new patients, and the associate will see a couple of the new patients throughout the day. And then you kind of split the overflow, kind of whoever is available to take those overflow patients, take the impressions or do the wax bite or the wax try-in or deliver the denture. That is kind of split.
Okay. So somebody's asking now, how flexible is the schedule for dentists that are planning to start a family, maternity leave, etc.?
I mean, it's pretty flexible. We want you there for a full day, but when you take time for maternity leave, you have the time for maternity leave. So if you want to take 6 weeks, I took 6 weeks. I couldn't sit at home for much longer than that. I tried to come back early and Aspen wouldn't let me. So they sent me back to my couch with the baby. You want to do 6 weeks? Great. You want to do 12 weeks? That's fine too.
Awesome. All right, let's go.
We'll say with that, you also you can build time in if you are just, if you come back early and you want to nurse or anything like that, you do have the ability to schedule breaks throughout your day to take care of that.
Awesome. Okay, so somebody's asking, what type of software does Aspen use? I do not know this.
It's its own Aspen developed software, so it's not like EagleSoft or Dentrix or anything like that. So you'll learn new software coming in as an associate.
Cool. All right, so now let's see. This is a good one. So what do practice owners look for in a new grad? So when you're interviewing.
I'm sure it's different for every practice owner.
Yeah.
But for me, I want somebody who is motivated, who wants to do better tomorrow than they did today, and who's able to take feedback, who, can multitask. There's a lot of different things, and there's no one right answer. I have some doctors that are very high energy. I'm a high energy person, but then I have some that are really mellow. But I think having that internal motivation, that internal drive is really important.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll go right to the next one. Do you have your own patients since planning their treatment plans until finish, or are the patients shared?
Hang on, sorry. There we
No,
go.
you're good.
The patients can be shared. It depends. Some patients are pretty particular and they want to stay with the same doctor, and we make those accommodations for those patients. Sometimes you will work off of each other's treatment plans, but if there's a surgery that you're doing, extract and insert, and you're going to deliver the dentures, and you can certainly make sure and talk with your office manager and say, hey, I want you to put all of the denture steps on my schedule. I want to put the surgery on my schedule because I want to see it go from start to finish. But also that's where you have good communication with the doctor that you're working with and say, hey, if I prep this crown, and if it's on your schedule, can you just grab me and we can switch so I can deliver the crown? So it's really easy to make sure that you're seeing your final product.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so another question here. This is going to the pandemic. During the pandemic, did Aspen cover overhead, or did the practice owners? So some businesses and folks.
So practice owners covered that, but Aspen was very quick to help us make some adjustments, cutting hours, furloughing staff, so that the practice owners were not upside down. So again, that's where Aspen as a business partner was very helpful in helping us as business owners make those decisions of, okay, we've got to really try to cut costs and go to bare minimum so that we can stay afloat.
Yeah, one of the first things I know that we did was make sure that every practice submitted for a PPP loan.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily they were all approved, which is great. And, it was more of like a skeleton crew from what I've heard in the offices, because obviously you could only do certain procedures. But yeah, so we wanted to make sure that none of the, practices went under, none of the practices had any issues. We wanted to make sure our practice owners were covered, but yeah, it was unprecedented times. And, somehow, I really don't know, we're able to open 80 practices last year, which is awesome. So we'll go into the next question here. What was your perspective of DSOs while at VCU?
Oh, the very honest answer was when I went into Aspen, I felt like I was like, oh my God, I sold my soul. There was not a positive light on DSOs in general. And I did not see Aspen as being my forever home. I did not see it being my long-term plan. If you had asked me, this is where I would be in 9 years after you graduated, I would have said you're nuts and there's no way it's going to happen. But here I am. And, Aspen fulfills a very specific need. And that was something that was really important to me when I graduated. I wanted to feel like I was doing good for my community and I was going where I was needed. The patients that Aspen serves, they're patients that have been struggling. They've neglected their dental care. They have not seen a dentist in a number of years. They don't always have the finances to come out of pocket for extensive dental treatment. They have DHMOs and insurances that nobody will take and that they've been paying for and they can't use it. And so this is where Aspen really steps in and fulfills a very big need for these patients and provides a service so that these underserved patients can get high quality dental care and be able to afford it. And they can get it done quickly. They can take care of infection. They can get their dentures done and not have to wait 6 months until they can, get the teeth pulled and then wait 6 months to build up some more funds to pay for the dentures. They can get it all done at one time. And that was really important to me. I felt like I was needed. And the more I have gone through Aspen, the more I love the access to care that it provides to patients.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is like getting the care that they need, but like as when they need it, which is like right then and there. So I think the convenience of that is awesome, and that we have a very say yes mentality. You know, we want to make sure we're always able to say yes to the patient, say yes to our doctors, our hygienists, our DAs. Like, we want to say yes as many times as we can. But yeah, that's awesome. Somebody's asking, why did you choose Aspen as your first job?
It was close to my apartment. I wasn't ready to move out of Florida. And truthfully, I wasn't sure if I was going to specialize or not. And I wanted to stay in Gainesville, close to the dental school, in case I wanted to specialize and I needed a job. And the Gainesville Aspen was hiring a dentist. And so that's where I went.
Love the honesty. Another question here is, what is Aspen's role as partner in an office? So we're not really partners, but I'll let Dr. Katie elaborate. Well, we kind of are.
They're a business partner. They are, but their role in the office is strictly business. They help hire, train, implement the programs for my front office staff. They put together my P&Ls for me. They, marketing. So all of those things that from a business end, that is their role. From a clinical end, that is 100% me and my doctors.
Yep. And then from also like the way that Aspen helps clinically, I would say it's just from the learning and development. So we have a whole learning and development team that provides the CE courses that our clinicians take. And that's something that's always being innovated. So the implant training course that Dr. Katie was talking about, that came out last February of 2020. So that's pretty new. And we're constantly trying to make it better. And we have a whole team of doctors that are working to provide our clinicians with as much, information as they can get to become better, whether that's, treatment plan acceptance and this is on top of the mentor and your colleagues that you'll have to work with. But yeah, great. It says, on that note, how much of the business aspect of your practice do you handle?
When you say business aspect, that's a very tough question for me to give a very straightforward answer. I handle hiring and firing and, wages of how much are we going to pay a dental assistant? There is a discussion between myself and my regional manager who is helping me hire people. I don't submit payroll, but, I'm involved in, making sure that overtime is managed, supply costs are being managed, and I'm monitoring those kinds of things. So it's a very tough question to give a very general answer.
Yeah. And there's people who are, even more involved. It really just depends on the practice owner and who they are as a person. Yeah.
And there are some owners who are 100% removed from practicing dentistry, and they just sit at home behind the computer, monitoring schedules, monitoring the costs, monitoring everything and from the office, and they do not do patients anymore. That's not what I love. I love running a business and being a business owner and everything that is involved, but my passion is patient care.
Yeah, that's your calling. I mean, I can see like the excitement you get when you talk about that. Like, that's your purpose. That's awesome. All right. As an Aspen owner, can you open an office only under your name, or is there any contract limitation, contract clause?
So as with hiring Aspen and being involved with Aspen as my business partner, ADMI, I am therefore branded. So I can't go say, oh, I want to go open another office and I'm going to call it like Dr. Heald's Family Dentistry. That would be a breach of my contract. So if I am going to use Aspen as my management company, I am therefore branded. I have my own LLC for like tax and business purposes, but like what is on my front door is Aspen.
Yeah. Yeah. So Aspen's the largest branded DSO. So that's why when you hear, we're put under the DSO umbrella, and then we're also put under the Aspen Dental umbrella. So, if one Aspen has an issue, it's almost like every Aspen has an issue, and same thing for DSOs. So the way I say it is like, they're all private practices in themselves. They each have practice owners that are dentists. But that's a good question. But also like all of our staff, when they're paid, if they were, they're getting paid from Dr. Katie Heald PLLC. It's her professional corporate company. It's hers. Okay. Somebody's asking, we have a lot of business-minded people here. What do Aspen practice overheads look like, and how much of production does the owner and or associate end up taking home? Also, do you see it being consistent throughout your practice or vary widely location to location?
Okay. Give me the first question. That was a lot of them.
Yeah, I'll break it down. What do Aspen practice overheads look like?
It's pretty standard overhead. So you're looking at, around 50% for your overhead. So sometimes a little bit higher, a little bit lower, depending on wages, where you are throughout the country, but it's pretty standard for even private practices.
Yeah. And then somebody's also another part of the question, how much of production does the owner and or associate end up taking home? This will vary geographically, but
it depends. So depending, and it also depends on the state that you live in because of the contracts that you have with Aspen as a management company. So North Carolina, you cannot have a percentage split for your profit. So to pay Aspen, some states allow them to take a percentage, but North Carolina is a fixed fee state. So Aspen has a fixed fee for their services, and that is what I pay them for their management services. And so then I take it home. So it varies depending on how much I do, what I have for fees. So my profit can vary a little bit, but it usually is around 55%. And then as an associate, you take home 8 to 10% because it's a profit share. As an MCD, you take home 18 to 20% of that because it's a profit share. Your daily rate comes first, and then what profit is over that daily rate, that's what you get in your incentive.
Yep, absolutely. And just to touch on that briefly, like as an owner, having that business service agreement, that's different than working for Dr. Katie, right? I don't know, Dr. Katie, you don't do contracts, do you?
For my doctors?
For your doctors, yeah.
So it's an agreement. It's really not a contract. There is.
I know that's a fear of a lot of dental students.
Yeah, it's an at-will agreement, and there's no binding contract saying that you have to stay here for 2 years or else you owe me X amount of money. Or what is it? There's like, what is it called again? When you have like a certain radius that you can't work within, a restrictive covenant or whatever. Yep. So there's no restrictive covenant. So if you really want to, you could go open an office right next door to Aspen. Say you were my associate and you said, all right, Aspen's not for me, not a big deal. And you want to go open your office right next door, you can totally do that.
Yeah. Okay. We're going back to business again. Does Aspen help you with market studies, business risk, etc. when you open a practice?
Yes, they do all of that. They do all of this market research, population research. What is the income, average income of the area? What is the population of the area? Average education. They do all of this market research to find what location would be best suited for an Aspen based on all of those things. So they have people that do that for us.
Yep, absolutely. So if you've driven past Aspen Dentals, you'll typically see them in like shopping centers, big plazas. But yeah, they take a lot of things into consideration before building an Aspen practice. And they're also built from the ground up. So they don't acquire new practices. These are all practices, again, that are built from the ground up. All right, let's see. Next question. Are there dental hygienists that work at Aspen, or do the dentists have to do the cleanings?
We have hygienists, and the hygienists are my employees. So Aspen really doesn't employ anybody. They're my employees. So yes, we have hygienists, and sometimes it depends on the office. There's at least one hygienist. You don't have to do your own hygiene. Sometimes there's 2, sometimes there's a float that comes in, but yes, we have hygienists.
Yep. What are your future plans with dentistry? kind of a very general
Like,
question.
with
Take over
Aspen,
North Carolina.
yeah, with Aspen, take on as many offices as I feel like I can emotionally handle. If that means it's, just 2 more or just 1 more, then that's great. But if not, I'll keep growing. And I love the mentorship of Aspen. I love mentoring young doctors. I had a phenomenal mentor who's a lifelong friend now. So mentoring doctors and still growing my dental practice and my skills. I place implants. I want to learn how to do all on 4 restorations, and Aspen has the technology to help me do that. So, I don't plan to stop growing in my skills either.
Yep. I mean, you guys are all practicing, right? Trying to get better and better. All right. Next question is, what was the hardest thing for you to do, what was the hardest thing for you to adjust to when you started out of practice? So this is good. Like the transition, how did that go?
Aspen wasn't as good as it is now when it comes to like doctor development and mentorship programs. When I first started, it was very much a sink or swim process. So the training that I had and the mentorship that I had right when I first started, we hadn't really fine-tuned and developed that yet. So the hardest thing for me was really learning how to manage multiple chairs and get pace down. And again, I was put in an office where I didn't have an MCD there regularly, so it was all on me to take the load of the schedule. As brand new right out of my residency, I'm used to seeing like 7 or 8 patients a day, and congratulations, here's your first day, you've got 30 and we got to figure it out. It doesn't work like that anymore. It definitely does not work like that anymore. But that was a challenge of a transition, but I learned through necessity.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, next question. What has helped you the most with treatment acceptance?
Being confident in my treatment plans. When you're presenting a treatment plan to a patient, I don't hem and haw. I'm like, oh, well, maybe we could do this or maybe we could do that. It is, I'm presenting you the ideal treatment plan based off our discussions, what the patient's wants and needs are. And here's the ideal treatment plan. And I can give them maybe a general alternative, a fixed option versus a removable option. We'll kind of gloss over the removable option, but then it is really up to my treatment plan coordinator and my front office staff to break down the financial barrier for these patients. So I get them in the back, I talk to them, I explain the treatment plan, and I'm very confident in how I explain it, and the patient's committed. And so now the only issue is, how are we going to pay for this treatment? So there really isn't any sales to my treatment plan coordinator. They already want to do treatment. They believe in me. They are confident in me. They're committed, and they want to move forward with treatment. Now we got to figure out how to pay for it.
Yeah, I think that's very comforting, and knowing you don't have to. I'm sure there are awkward conversations when it comes to finances sometimes, so that you don't have to have that burden. You have somebody, staff, to handle those things for you. All right. So I do want to be mindful of your time. I see you're still in the office, and I'm sure you want to go home. We'll end off with 2 more questions. If you were back in dental school, what would you have done differently?
I don't know if I would have done a whole lot different. I still go back and forth, like, oh, maybe I should have specialized. Maybe I should have done this or that. But I truly love what I do every day. And, since I'm not a specialist, I can punt to the specialist all the cases that I don't want to do. But if I was back in dental school, I would have still done a residency. If I would have done my same residency over again. I sure would. And I joined Aspen, wasn't my intention, but it's been an amazing development in my career, and I just couldn't imagine doing it any differently. I really can't.
Yeah, that's so funny. A lot of practice owners I talk to, like successful ones, they tell me the same thing. Like when they first joined Aspen, they're like, yeah, I was gonna do it for a year and then I was gonna kind of really figure out what I wanted to do. Like Dr. Christie. Dr. Christie is a practice owner who owns, I don't even remember, 25 offices, which is insane. But yeah, he was one that graduated from WVU and did not have the, motivation to work for Aspen, but did it. And then he is where he is now. All right. One last question. Why did you go into dentistry?
So I had a lot of dental issues as a child. I had molar incisal enamel hypoplasia. So no enamel on anterior teeth, first molars. Had root canals when I was like 10, had strip crowns. I've had apicos. I have 12 veneers and I've got 2 implants. And so, but as a young child, I hated going to the dentist, even though my dentist was wonderful. But when I got to be 16, I had the crowns put on and I was, for the most part, finished and stable with everything. Final restorations were done. It changed my life. It truly changed my life. It changed my confidence level, who I was as a person, and it made all of that discomfort really worth it. And I thought, if I can do that for one person, if I can change someone's life, then I will feel very fulfilled. I know it sounds really cheesy, but I wanted to go in to change somebody's life. And I get to do that every day. I may not be doing, the lots of, full mouth reconstruction with veneers and things like that. But gosh, to have somebody who's been, a recovering addict who is trying to put their life together, and we have to do dentures for them, and we take the teeth out, do dentures, and it totally changes their life so they can go get a job and turn their life around. I mean, that's life changing, and we do that every day, and it's really cool.
Awesome. So I did read this last question and it's a good one, if you don't mind.
Sure.
As a student who is only seeing 2 patients a day, 15 plus patients a day feels like it could be overwhelming. Do new grads struggle with this, or are they able to feel like they can still provide quality care for all of their patients?
Again, we start you off really very easy. When you come in for your first day, you do not have a schedule full of 15 patients. You observe and you get the flow, and you hang out with your mentor doctor so that you can understand how to kind of float throughout the office first. And then we start giving you like, all right, let's have you do 2 patients today. We'll have you do 4 patients tomorrow. And then we gradually work you up to where you're feeling fast enough to do more and to see more. And we say, hey, doc, you're sitting around a little bit. You want to go see another patient, and or like, hey, it only took you an hour and a half to do that build up and prep. So, why don't we cut you down to an hour and 15 minutes, because it looks like you've got some time to spare. So we start you off slow, and then we can tailor your schedule to your speed. And then once you get your speed and your confidence up, then we can make changes and make adjustments.
Perfect. Awesome. So again, thank you guys for joining me and Dr. Katie. I hope you guys got to learn quite a bit from this. Is there anything in closing that you want to say to these students from VCU?
No, I mean, part of growth is being uncomfortable, whether it's like in business or as a clinician. We all strive to do good work, and you grow being a little bit uncomfortable. So don't be afraid of that.
Awesome. I know we mentioned the CE earlier. So Aspen's actually offering free CE courses. If you can see my screen here, aspendentalce.com/welcome. You guys can log on there, look at the library. This is all free, so you don't have to worry about paying for anything. And you can look into some CE courses that you want to take, whether it's over the summer or break or whenever, when you guys have time. But I just wanted to share that with you guys. And if you do have further questions, let me know. I'm going to email everybody the winner of the raffle. So I am raffling off the AirPods, as well as 2 Amazon gift cards. So be on the lookout for that email tomorrow. But again, shout out to Jacob for helping me get the word out. And I know that he was super excited to hear from you, Dr. Katie. So I'm glad we were able to put this together. Hopefully I can come see you guys in Richmond soon. That'll be great. So Jacob, keep me posted, bro. Other than that, thank you guys. Have a good night. Again, reach out if you have any further questions. I'm sure Dr. Katie would not mind answering others later on.
Anytime. Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.